You've contributed to the huge monumental hit song Promises with Maverick City Music. They say that deep, meaningful creation stays with us for the rest of our lives. Can you walk us through the collaborative songwriting process of that song?
Me and my friends were no name songwriters and up and coming songwriters at the time. And we, first of all, I snuck into Mav. I wasn't supposed to be there. I didn't have an invitation. I just kind of like showed up on the doorstep off of one of my friends' invitations. And they put us in this room and we wrote the initial concept that would be Promises. And we were all literally in there talking about like what season we were in with the Lord. That's usually how those conversations start anyway. And we all agreed that we were all in the season of waiting to see God do what he promised that he would do. It's like, I know that you said that you're going to do this, but right now, it doesn't look like it. I'm looking around me and nothing around me says that what you promised me is on the way around the corner, even in even in the like in the shipping. I don't even have a shipping address. Like I know nothing. But I'm trusting what you said. I'm not allowing what I see around me to cause you to doubt what you said to me. But the problem is, I need something to encourage me in the waiting. So I'm like, so we decided to write about a record. We didn't think that it was going to leave the four walls of the room we were in. We were just trying to write a song that would help us stay encouraged while we wait for God to come through on his word and come through on his promise. So that was the idea. That was the concept. That was the the aim. It wasn't to like become a thing that went all over the world. We had no idea what we were doing. Like when I was with Mav, I just for clarity's sake, I left Mav in 22, top of 22, January 2022.
Okay, gotcha.
After the first tour that happened in 21. So we did the Welcome to Maverick City tour in 21. I went home November and December. I sat with it, talked to my mentor, talked to my pastor, and I left and transitioned out of Mav in 22. I didn't announce it. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't like publicize it because I didn't want there to be any kind of controversy. And I wanted to just like let everything like land clean and integral and all the things. So, but when we did Promises, man, we had no idea that it was going to become what it became. We just were trying to write for the seasons that were ahead that might
Mm.
cause us to like doubt what he said.
When I look at that performance video on YouTube, which is the one that really took off, do you guys do like a bunch of takes of that, or is that just like a
No,
one shot deal?
that was a one take, one shot.
Every moment just drew out so much emotion. My wife had been listening to that for a minute, but you know that scene in White Men Can't Jump where they talk
Yeah.
about hearing versus listening. I wasn't really
Mhm.
hearing it, I was listening to it, but I wasn't like hearing it. But one day I was just sort of like in a moment where it was on the TV and I just stopped and looked and watched the whole performance, that whole 10-minute thing. And it was like right at the end there where you guys are doing the ad libs, like I just like drew tears. Like I just started like I broke down.
I mean, what's crazy is me and Naomi couldn't see each other. So there
Mm,
was, if you look at the video, there's a lady standing next to Naomi that has like blue hair and a beanie on. She was standing in my direct line of sight, so I couldn't see Naomi at
mm,
all. And usually we feed off of each other's like energy, or we try to like see each other to kind of feel like where we're gonna go. I couldn't see Naomi at all, so like we were just winging it, and like Holy Spirit somehow like kept us in tune and in alignment on the record. But we just kind of, what we would do is we would learn the song for like verses and bridge, verses, chorus, and bridge. Once we know that, and once we know the order and structure, we just go for it, and then whatever happens happens. If we loop the bridge again, if we go back to the chorus, if we leave room for spontaneity, like we know the safety net of the structure of the record enough to know like we can go off script and come back to the structure at any point.
mm.
So so we just was like, let's go in the red, and whatever we record, we record. So the way it landed was the way like Holy Spirit navigated us, because like I adopted this concept from Stephanie Gretzinger that the Holy Spirit is our worship leader.
Mm.
So he leads the moment, he leads the charge. He's the one that's navigating the waters, and we follow his direction. So in those moments, we just kind of just followed where Holy Spirit was leading us. And honestly, what's crazy is that we hated the original recording. When we
Mm.
first heard the original recording back, me and Elmo was like, "Can we do it again?" And the owners were like, "No," and we didn't know why. We didn't know why they didn't let us like re-record it. And then we hear it back when it comes out, and everybody's like, I don't remember it feeling like this. And then next thing you know, we're all like weeping as we watch it. But yeah.
So good. From the initial like songwriting, recording to the awards, what were some of the most profound things that you learned from this experience about the experience of itself and maybe even what you learned about yourself?
That the priesthood is very important, and you have to understand that there's a difference between being a priest and being a salesman. Because I think in music, there's two sides of there's more nuance than this, but like if you think about it from like a Christianese standpoint, there's two sides of music that are being of the industry as a whole that are being that are kind of intertwined or that kind of have their stance in it. You have the mainstream market, which is very black and not black and white. There's so many nuances, but it's like, all right, great. You make a product, you sell the product, you promote the product, you get the product to the people. That's the point of like the mainstream market. In Christendom, it's different because it's not about selling to a market in Christendom. It's about serving a bride because you can't selling salvation doesn't make sense. Selling God's presence doesn't make sense. Like you can't do that. That's what makes people in danger. Like that's what puts a lot of people in danger. What I've learned in this experience as a whole is that the Big C Church is a bride to be served, not a market to be sold to. And this is what my friend Emma Pierce told me. And what's interesting is that when you look at the story of Jesus, the one time he ever flipped tables and got violent was when he walked into the church and people were selling turtle doves and they were selling goats and they were literally trying to like sell people salvation. That's like you can't like you're serving a bride, you're not selling to a market when you're in Christendom and you're in music on the Christian side of the industry. Like while it's not supposed it was never supposed to be an industry. Worship was never supposed to be industry. It was never supposed to be industrial at all. It was always supposed to be a priesthood and a conviction and a thing that's supposed to be carried a different way. So one thing I've learned is how important the priesthood is and how dangerous it can be if it's mishandled or treated wrong. And um I think I learned that what side of the fence I'm called to stand on. Don't get me wrong. I will probably write mainstream music for a mainstream artist. I probably will like release something that sonically feels mainstream. But understand, like internally, I'm a priest.
Hmm.
Excuse me. At my core, I'm a priest, and I'm always going to want to serve people. I'm going to want to serve the bride, but also even if I do something mainstream, I'm trying to go in here and serve people. I'm trying to like nurture people. I do not want to entertain them. I'm not trying to push your product that will entertain you for 2 minutes and 30 seconds so you can go back to your life as usual. No, I'm trying to give you something that will nurture your soul for the next 5, 10, 15 years. Like I'm trying to give you something that you'll come back to and be like, this for some reason is healing something in me, and I don't know why or how. Like I think I'm trying to serve anyone and everyone that's in front of me, trying to go low and give you something that is nurturing and valuable anyway. So
Hmm.
that's the two things that I would say I've learned.